Hey guys, Katie here with For the Love of Leftovers. I am super excited to have you in my kitchen because tonight I am taking you on a little trip with me throughout the day as we are creating a week of meals in just one day with a kind of unusual method to meal planning. It's going to be budget friendly. It's going to help to clean out your fridge and pantry. It's going to use one ingredient as the main cause of inspiration, and these are all going to be slow cooker recipes, all except for our main ingredient, which I'll get to here in a minute. Our main ingredient of inspiration for this week's meal plan is rice. It is a very common staple item that is found in pretty much everyone's pantry. Now you might have a bag of rice that has been sitting there for a while. It could be white rice, it could be wild rice, it could be quinoa, it could be any type of rice in that, kind of family, that same idea. So whatever rice you have, so follow along with me as I'm going to make a big batch of rice that then we can use throughout the week to create some very different flavor profiles and very different meals for even the pickiest of eaters. Okay, let's dig in. So when we're thinking about meal planning, a lot of times it can be, what does my family want to eat? My family is so sick of things, and then we end up with a stockpile in our pantry or in our freezer or fridge of items that just kind of sit there for a while. I've had a box of wild rice that has been in my pantry for a shamefully long time. We usually eat white rice with our meals anytime I'm going to cook rice. So this wild rice that has more of an earthy flavor has really just been sitting and been ignored in my pantry for far too long. So it is time that we not only use that up, but I'm going to force myself to cook the entire thing and use it as a source of inspiration for this week's meal items. Not everyone is on board with making a lot of certain meals. So maybe you have an idea for a meal, but you're not quite sure if your family is going to be on board with it. So you don't want to make, 3 of them to freeze to and find out that, oh, my family doesn't even like it. But you still have maybe a specific ingredient item like rice that takes a while to cook. Or, you could talk about potatoes. You could talk about any of those types of ingredients, or think about any of those types of ingredients that are going to take a while to cook and that maybe tend to turn you off from trying new recipes, or those kind of basic ingredients where you're like, oh, rice with butter again? No, friend. I'm going to take you and we're going to dig in and we're going to transform this rice, pair it with new ingredients, new flavors, and so that your family doesn't feel like they're eating rice every day, isn't getting sick of rice, you're getting new experiences, but you are saving money because you are using these cheap ingredients that act as a filler and that, get out of your pantry because you've already paid for them. So let's use the rice. Okay, so the first recipe that we have going is already in the crock pot. I have 2 Boston Butts, some salt, and a pre-mix seasoning. We used this one the other night on barbecue country style pork ribs, and that was absolutely delicious. My husband loved it. So don't be afraid of getting these pre-mixes. Don't feel like you have to do everything from scratch. If you're going to use it, there is no harm in getting it, and it really doesn't cost any extra. It might actually save you a little bit of money. Next on our list is a chicken and wild rice. Not sure if we're gonna do casserole or soup at this point, but I wanted to share my 2 kind of primary ingredients. Now, of course, I have chicken and turkey that has been smoked on the grill, so that's gonna be an immense amount of flavor. But also, save yourself time and money by using ingredients, simple, cheap ingredients. These are some that were in my pantry that I like, they've been there forever. And this is homemade stock, but these already have loads of flavor. So that means I'm gonna have to add less spices. I'm gonna have to do less chopping, less caramelization, things that already have flavor built into them, and then combining them for one big dish is just going to save you time, save you money, and allow you to also kind of bulk up the items, right? And use those leftover pantry ingredients. I cannot tell you how long these have been in my pantry. They are probably, yeah, they are just now, well, just now, it's, you know, November 1st, but, you know, they're kind of just now out of date. So we're going to make sure to use these. This is going to be one of those items. I will probably make it into a soup just so I can freeze it a bit easier. I have some soup jars that freeze well. So we'll make this into like a chicken and rice soup. I'll, like I said, freeze it into smaller portions because not everyone in my home can have this, but it's also not something that I want to throw away. We paid for it, we're going to use it. So I know I just told you that we're going to stay away from the spices. Using something like a fresh herb such as rosemary or thyme and kind of making it a bundle, or even just throwing it in whole so that you can pick it out later. Using a fresh herb like this is going to also help to bridge the gap between what I would consider a fresh product and a processed product. Adding that herb is really going to help kind of tame that processed flavor, if that makes sense. And like I said, it's going to help bridge that gap and add a little bit of vibrancy. These are in my fridge, clearly need use, so we're going to add it to the soup. I'm gonna tie a different string around this, pop it into the soup, and pull it out before we serve it. These are the bags of turkey and chicken that need to be shredded and used in our rice soup. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cook our wild rice, and I've used some of it, but I honestly haven't touched this for quite a while. We tend to eat white rice. It's just what we tend to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it in this huge Dutch oven first, because I find that when I add rice, uncooked rice, to a slow cooker, it absorbs all that liquid. And while that's nice flavor-wise, it ends up more of a casserole. So if we cook it first, add it later, then it'll be a little more on the soup side. Plus I have kids that don't necessarily want to eat or can't eat a soup. And so cooking it on the side, I can give them rice on the side, and we can have this also. I can remove some of it, and we can have some of it with the pork that I'm cooking in the slow cooker as well. So I'm just gonna cook all of it. See how much we have here. 2, 3, 4-ish. Okay. So I've got about 4 cups of rice in here. Need a cup and a half per cup of a cup and a half of water per cup of rice. So nice. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do is I have this bottle of white wine that has been sitting in the corner for months now, open. I really don't drink wine. Every now and then I might, but I just really don't. I don't drink it very often. Not often enough. So we're going to actually use this as part of our liquid for our rice. So kind of like risotto, except we're, gonna cook our rice in it. So let's see how much we have here. We've got a cup. Okay. Now I need water. Okay, I got 4.5 cups of water. And I'm going to start the heat on this. Just put it right up. Good job. Just start it right up on high. I'm gonna add in a little bit of olive oil. I'm gonna add in a couple teaspoons of salt. That way it's got all the flavor. You can totally omit that alcohol. You can omit that alcohol completely, but any alcohol in this will cook off. So it's not, you're not going to be serving alcohol to your kids. It will all cook off by the time it's all cooked. Woo! This is one of my favorite ways to actually cook rice is in a Dutch oven. I find it to be easiest. I just pour everything in, put it on high, wait for it to come to a boil, cover it, and turn the heat off. And about 20 minutes later, rice is done, and I don't have to like babysit it or think about it. The amount of heat that's retained in this pot is just perfect, cooks it perfect every time. Okay, while we're waiting on that to come to a boil, I'm gonna start prepping the veggies. And so all we have to prep is celery and carrots, maybe an onion if we're feeling a little crazy. But this is really the majority of our fresh produce here. This is just the mirepoix. This is what we're going to do. Okay, we'll get this all. Huh? Done cereal. Good job. Thank you. All right, so what I am going to do, I'm going to pop all of these carrots, celery, onions right in there. Right, and then I'm going to add in my 3 cans of cream of celery. Ooh. Okay, got that all in. Now I'm going to add this entire jar, I think, of our homemade turkey stock. Okay. Now I'm going to add in our pre-cooked chicken, turkey. This bag is frozen, and yes, there are big bone pieces in here, and I'm okay with that. Once it thaws, once it cooks, becomes a little bit easier to work with, I will take the bones off of there. So I plan to essentially ladle this into soup containers. Ooh. So I don't mind. I find it a little easier to pick off when the meat is warm. Plus any more collagen or anything we have in these bones will come out. It's just going to make for a really wildly delicious soup and broth. Even to the point that if we needed to, we could actually add water to this to make it stretch even further once it's all warmed up and cooked in there. Okay, and all this flavor from this smoked turkey is going to get in there. Let's pop the cover on. Clearly an old an old crock pot. Doesn't even have the knob on top anymore. I'll just use mitts when I take it off. Not a big deal. Oh, I'm gonna pop my rosemary right on top so that I can see it and remove it when we're ready. Okay, so that's done. That's prepped, going. I'm gonna clean up this mess. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is something with black beans. I'm gonna do some sort of Tex-Mex type of crockpot dish. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I do know I have multiple bags of dried beans. I have like split peas. I have like a thing of like 15 different beans or something like that. I don't know. I've got multiple bags of dried beans that have not been touched. I'm kind of the only one that likes beans in my house. So that's why they just kind of tend to sit there. But I love black beans, specifically. Just come anything taco related, I love black beans. I think they're great. So we're gonna do this for a meatless meal. I'm going to do sort of a, way I can think of describing it is like a Tex-Mex minestrone. There might be a better name for it. We'll get there. But what I need to do first before I can get these into the crock pot is I actually am going to try the Instant Pot method with these dried black beans. Supposedly it works really quickly, gets them cooked, and then I can drain them and use them as directed for anything else. So let's get these into the Instant Pot and try it out. Okay, and it's been well over 20 minutes. So I'm going to check on my rice here. Looks nice and warm and perfectly floofy. All right, it is nap time. We've had to have an outfit change. Mom life, you know. So we are going to get going on the rest of this dish, which I'm kind of making up as I go along. But our black beans are just about done. They're done cooking. The pressure is releasing on them now, ever so slowly. So now we gotta get these sweet potatoes cut down. We'll get these into the bottom of a crock pot. Haven't quite decided if I'm going to par cook them yet. A lot of recipes using sweet potatoes, they take a really long time to cook. So a lot of recipes have you microwave them with some oil and seasonings first. I don't think I'm gonna do that because I'm not in any sort of a hurry to have this done. We're not eating this tonight, so this can really just cook for as long as it needs to in the crock pot. So, and yes, I'm making a huge mess here. We'll get it cleaned up. I still have to clean up the whole kitchen from the day, so whatever. We're just doing it. Just doing it. All these scraps will go to the chickens. They'll be happy. Dinner will be done for the week. We've still got some leftovers from the past few days. So I really have food done for the week. So this recipe you can certainly cook with chicken. Everything that I'm throwing in this crock pot, you could throw some chicken in there and make this a one pot or slow cooker dish with that added protein. Like I said before, we are going to make this more of a meatless dish to just give us that option. And I know not everyone likes meat. This could also be a, like you could use this as a base for something like enchiladas or tacos and add your choice of meat. So one thing that we'll probably do, like I'll eat this with rice, and like this will be a full meal for me. My kids, my husband very much prefer having meat with every dish. So for them, what I can do is later in the week, you know, like use this as a meal as itself, but then also later in the week use some of that pork that we have cooking in the other, one of the other slow cookers, that barbecue pork, and we could make like a barbecue fusion, barbecue Mexican fusion. It's okay to get crafty with the things. Okay. And yes, I have multiple slow cookers. As a food photographer and a food blogger for about a decade or so, I've accumulated many things along the way. So it wasn't like I just went out one day and bought 10 crock pots, but I do in fact have 10 crock pots. So that certainly does help in this situation. Ooh. There we go. The goal is to always make it as safe as possible and to cut on as many flat edges as possible when it comes to any produce, okay, or anything you're cutting. So, like I said, I cut it lengthwise after I've cut it in half, okay? And then I'm going to put it on its side, put one of them on its side, okay? So they're both lined up like this. And then I'm going to go down again, okay? Now I'm going to turn them back onto that other flat side. I'm going to cup it, put my knife in between so I'm not getting my fingers. Cut down, so then I have like these big matchsticks. Again, putting that knife there, grip it in between, come down. And now I'm just gonna grab them and spin them all the same way. And I've got my thumb here on my knife, finger on the other side, and then my fingers curled under the grip of the knife. This gives you a little more control over it. Then I'm going to claw, and then cut. These sweet potatoes stick to your hand a little bit. Okay. So then they are all about the same size. Okay, and now I've got a can of drained whole kernel corn, not creamed corn. Now I'm gonna add in some salsa verde. I do have a can, or a jar rather, of jalapenos, but again, I'm trying to limit the amount of spices that I need to add to each dish and kind of letting each ingredient do the work. I'm expecting a little bit more out of each ingredient by doing this, but whew, if we can use it, let's use it. So I'm adding the entire jar in there. So this is going to be a very salsa verde flavor forward dish. My mouth is watering just smelling it. One of my favorite things of all times is salsa verde. Love it. All right, so the only two spices that I'm going to add to this is I'm gonna add a bit of salt because we need salt. Just a couple teaspoons, and remember, like the beans aren't seasoned at all, so we want to account for that. And then I'm going to put in probably a good tablespoon's worth of cumin, just to give it that nice warm flavor. And that, like, a spice like this is really going to make it feel like it's a complete dish and it's not just like a side piece. Oregano will help with that too, so we're gonna add just a teaspoon or so of oregano. Okay, so I've got the beans done here. I'm just adding all of them right to that crock pot. Now I'm gonna give everything a good stir, just to combine everything. That salsa verde, it smells so good in there. All right. All right, this is going to go over on in the crock pot, put a cover on it, and I'm gonna put it on high for 4 hours and then check the potatoes after that, mostly because I can see myself eating this for dinner. Just want to take a minute and show you what it looks like before it gets cooked. It looks so good. I will see you for dinner. Okay, our pork is just about done. I am gonna let it keep going a bit just so it gets even more fall apart tender, but this is totally like cuttable and servable. And so I'm having this for lunch today over rice. Okay, so check out this meat. Super tender. I know it almost looks dry, but it's not. I promise you, it is very much not dry. So this is my lunch today. I've got that wild rice down on the bottom. I've got the pork there, topped it with some cheese, some lime juice, and some barbecue sauce. And this is kind of our like taco barbecue bowl for today. So I did want to show you, because I told you earlier that I had made these country style pork ribs in the Instant Pot or slow cooker the other day. I can't even remember which one now. Slow cooker, I believe it was. So these are the leftovers that we have from that. Oh no, it was in the Dutch oven. In the Dutch oven. So these are the pork ribs we have left over from that. And I have about 3 of these left over. These are all the potatoes and carrots and onions and celery. All the items that were in under the country style pork ribs in the Dutch oven. So this side dish of potatoes can then be either served with these pork ribs or can be served with the Boston butt that we have in the slow cooker. So rice can be served with this as a bowl, or it can be more of a stew and we just add in the potatoes. So that gives us another option for meals for the week. All right, we are ready for this deliciousness. I know it doesn't look so great in that angle, but let's get it served up. Okay, so what we have here is some of that wild rice that we made, that huge Dutch oven, right? So all I did was put a ladle, like a ladle spoonful worth of that down, and then a ladle worth of the sweet potato, black bean, crock pot meal. And then we're going to zhuzh it up even more. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So we're going to take just a spoonful of sour cream. We're going to add in about a teaspoon or so of lime juice, and we're going to mix it. And so all this is doing is making it thinner, just a little more pourable. Loosening it up, And you can make, I mean, you can make as much of this as you want. It's just me, so I'm just making a little bit of it. And then we're just going to drizzle that on as best we can. And then I like cilantro. So then what I'm doing is grabbing a little bunch of cilantro, and I'm just going to use a pair of clean kitchen shears to just cut the crap out of it. You can of course do this on an actual cutting board with a knife, but who's got the time? Okay, and I'm just gonna sprinkle it over. Okay, and this right here does not look like a budget meal, does it? It does not look like we are pinching pennies. It looks good. It looks all zhuzhed up. Woo! So good, it could fall off the plate. No, but that's a dinner that you can eat and be proud of. And I'm sure it's delicious. We might as well give it a try. So we've got the rice, beans, we're gonna give it a good old taste. That's perfect. My husband and I had a date night tonight, and we did go out someplace and got tacos. This is better. Okay, next I'm gonna show you our third crock pot recipe that we are gonna use this rice for. Ooh, this one needs a little bit of love and tender care as we portion it out, because remember that we had meat on the bone in here, and we had those big stems of rosemary. So I'm going to shred a little bit of this chicken turkey stuff and take out those clumps of rosemary, just so we don't end up having someone eat those. So a lot of those leaves are falling off, but the big thing is we want to get those sticks out, because nobody wants to eat a rosemary stick. And the meat is just falling off the bone, if you can see that. So we're just going to pick it apart. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm just gonna plate this up quickly so that you can take a look at it. Okay, make sure we don't get any bones in there. Oh, this is beautiful. I wish there was smell-o-vision, because it just smells amazing. Absolutely smells amazing. All right, so I've put a real good amount of the chicken turkey combo in here. I think this is mostly turkey, if I'm honest. So there's a real good amount in there. And then I'm just going to take my ladle . I'm going to get a spoonful of broth and veggies that are down at the bottom. Still getting some more of that chicken. Oh, that looks scrumptious. So I did 2 ladles in there. Now we're going to add our rice. Okay, again, just using about a spoonful here. This is not a casserole, this is a soup. Okay, I had to come to better lighting, but look at this. It's all just beautiful. We've mixed in that rice, and that rice is going to absorb a little bit of that broth, but not a crazy amount because we've already cooked it. And then you're just going to, again, take some parsley this time. Parsley would be best with this. And look, absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful turkey and wild rice pantry soup. And this can be portioned out and frozen. So how I would do that is actually portioning it out from the crock pot without the rice. And so just make a little note that you need to add rice when you thaw the frozen soup, and just stick it in your freezer. All right, let's give it a taste. All right, it is a very, very hot. Wow, there is so much flavor in this, and it's not overly celery either, right? Like, we added celery and then we added 3 cans of cream of celery soup, and it's not overly creamy either. I definitely thought that milk base was really going to like amp up the creaminess of it, but this is really a good, still like a good broth-based soup. It just gave it a ton of flavor. That turkey already had a ton of flavor. The homemade stock already had a ton of flavor. I mean, that was super minimal effort, maximum flavor, maximum results. Super pleased with this meal. My kids are going to be super pleased with this meal because they love chicken noodle soup, turkey noodle soup, anything like that. And just doing a simple switch of rice instead of pasta can make things feel a little bit more lively and can really help you to clean out the pantry and help with the meal planning. One of my favorite things to do is to pick one ingredient that I'm going to use all the week for all of my meal plans, or for all of my meals for my family. And so this week it was rice, because I had a box, you know, in the pantry that needed to get used up, but still had quite a bit in it. So we use that as our main ingredient, as our main ingredient of inspiration, right? Because I mean, the main ingredient of the taco bowl was really the sweet potatoes and the beans. The rice was really just the vessel. It was just the carrier, right? But it was our inspiration of, okay, we could take this and make it into a taco bowl with this. We can take rice and we can make it into a turkey and wild rice soup. We can take the rice and like we did earlier with the pork, and make a barbecue lime pork bowl. There's so much that you can do, so much versatility, and it really helps to sometimes just have one ingredient that you're focusing on, such as rice in this case, that kind of puts you into a box, because sometimes the more ideas you have and the more options you have, the more overwhelmed you can be. So putting some sort of boundary on your ideas, on your meal plan, can not only help a budget, but also help you clean out the pantry and help you get more creative in the kitchen. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to doing more budget-friendly, large family meals in the future. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye. And if you're new to my channel, this is the time that you go ahead and pop off if you are not a person of prayer. Otherwise, I would love to bless you as we leave this video. Lord Jesus, I ask that you would bless those listening and viewing the video today, Lord, and I ask that you would bless the bellies that eat the food, Lord, whether it's anything from this video or anything that they get to creatively come up with in their own kitchen. Lord, I ask that you would just extend their dollar, extend the flavors and the depth, and just create an abundance of memories around their meals and their mealtime together. Let it be full, both in heart and stomach. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, love you guys. Bye.